So Advaita, he replies to this statement of Mahaprabhu. Mahapatra Advaita Brukuti Karinache Kimate Kaiba Prema Nara Shushi Jache. Advaita Prabhu, the great recipient of the Lord's mercy, frowned and danced as he said, "How will you feel ecstatic love when Nara has drained you?" So this is, Nara is of course his own name, Nara, Narayan, Lord Vishnu. Muni nahi pana prema, napaya shivas, tilimali sane kara, premara vilas, avaduta tomar premer, haila dhas, ami se bahira ara, pandita shivas, ami sava nahilana, prema adhikari, avaduta si haila premara bhandari, jari more prema joga, nadehe gosai, shushiba sakala prema mora dosha nai. Advaita goes on. I do not get love of God, and neither does Srivas Thakur. Mahaprabhu, you enjoy your pastimes of ecstatic love with oil millers and gardeners. Avadut, Nitai, has become the servant of your love, while Srivas and I are left out. We are not qualified to attain your love. While this Avadut has come and become the storekeeper of your love. He's a prema bandhari. Avaduta asi haila prema bandhari. Oh Gosai, this means Mahaprabhu, if you do not award me your ecstatic love, I will dry it all up. Then do not blame me. So this is from the grandfather. This is Advaita Acharya speaking some sarcasm, some humor. He's in a it sounds like he's criticizing, actually he's glorifying Mahaprabhu. He's saying, you associate with people of lower castes. Therefore, Srivas Thakur and I, who are Brahmanas, we're not receiving your love. You're busy distributing your love to drunkards and miscreants. Avadut Nitai has become the only beneficiary of your love. Only you've given your love to him. If you do not bestow your love on me, then I'll take it all away. I'll drain it all out. Chaitanjara prema mata acharya gosai ki balaye ki karaye kichu smriti nai. Advaita Gosai was maddened with Lord Chaitanya's love. Prema mata, Chaitanya prema mata. He did not remember what he said or what he did. So he was actually speaking a little madly in his madness of love. So it didn't really make much sense, everything he was saying, because he was a full recipient of Mahaprabhu's complete love. Sarva mate Krishna bhakta mahima badhai bhakta gane jate veche tataiva vikai. Krishna increases the glories of his devotees in all respects. They are able to sell him wherever they want. Jai bhakti prabhave Krishne vechi bare pare se jai vakya bali beke ki vichitratare. For one who can sell Krishna by the influence of his bhakti prabhav. What is unusual about speaking in this way? So, the way the Acharya is in bliss of bhakti, and he has so much influence. Nana rupe bhakta bhadai jena gora chandra ki bujite paritana anugraha dhanda. Gaurachandra increases the glories of his devotees in various ways. Who can understand his mercy and punishment? Takura vishadena paya prema sukha hate tali diya nache avad advaita kotuka. As Mahaprabhu lamented due to not receiving the happiness of ecstatic love, Advaita joyfully danced while clapping his hands. This is some intimate exchanges. On their level, it's a little inconceivable what they're doing, but they're enjoying nonetheless. Advaitera Vakya Shuni Prabhu Vishwambhar Arakichuna Karila Tara Pratyutar. After listening to Advaita's words, Lord Vishwambhar did not make any reply. Se Mata Radadila Guchaya Dwar Pachedhaya Nityananda Haridasa Tanra. Mahaprabhu suddenly opened the door and ran out of Shiva Sangam. And Nityananda and Haridas ran after him. So this is all the ecstatic, prem-filled Leelas of the Lord. It's a Chintya Lila, very inconceivable. Prema Shunya Sharira Tuya Kiba Kaj Chintiya Padila Prabhu Janavira Haj. Thinking that there was no use in keeping a body devoid of love of God, the Lord jumped in the Ganga. Of course, He's teaching us we should become desperate. There's a certain desperation here exuding from these verses. Obviously, the Prem Avatar, Prem Sarup, Radha Govinda Prem Sarup, Vishwambhar, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Rasaraj Mahabhav is every pore of his body is emanating the deepest, most profound Madanakya Mahabhav, Prem of Radharani for Krishna. But he's teaching something that we're engaged in Sankirtan, we're not feeling any joy, no Premanubhavas. Maybe it's because of aparads, we've made Vaishnava aparads. Maybe it's because of bad association. You think of these 2 points that are being discussed in the last few minutes. Bad association, Pashandis, atheists in the marketplace, atheists in our home, our family atheists, our mother and father atheists, our uncle Pashandi, our Pashandi uncles and aunts, Pashandi brothers and sisters. So any type of bad association from any direction, in the temple, out of the temple, in the marketplace, on Sankirtan, at home, so-called relatives, relative program. So bad association or Vaishnava aparad can be 2 causes of worthlessness, making the body worthless. There's no life in the body. Raka pran, nare raka pran. Please save my life. So if we have no life, then we're dead. Very interesting. Lord Chaitanya is saying, Bina prema anubhav. If there's no anubhav, if there's no prema anubhav coming when I'm serving Krishna, Shravanam Kirtana Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam, when I'm engaged in hearing and chanting, remembering Krishna's name and pastimes and form, if I'm not experiencing any anubhavas, then what's the cause? Is it aparad? Is it offenses? Is it nama aparad, Vaishnava aparad, seva aparad, dhamma aparad, jiva aparad? Or is it bad association? Do I willfully take the bad association of my material desires? Do I willfully take the bad association of gossipers and fault finders among the devotees? Do I happily take the association of materialistic, atheistic people, friends and so-called old friends and relatives? Because these are causes. And then what does that mean? That means my bhakti is dead. There's no bhakti, there's no bhava, there's no anubhavas arising. So what's the point of living? There's no point in living. And if the Vaishnavas don't forgive me, aparad shama, they don't forgive me for my offenses, then my life is finished. So since no prema is coming, no love is happening, this body is useless. What's the point? So let me jump into Ganges, commit suicide. The Lord is showing this. Thinking there is no use in keeping a body devoid of prema, the Lord decided to commit suicide. So if that was the standard of modern life, it would be a very small world population today. They say there's 6 billion people in the world, 1.5 billion in China, 1 billion in India, and the rest around here and there. So there will only be a handful left. Only be a half a dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen, 20, 30 devotees left that actually have prema on this planet. And everybody else will be in the Ganges, floating dead. Or sinking dead, whatever. So when we read this, Mahaprabhu's intensity and his absorption, then we think, well, wait a minute, what am I doing here? I'm breathing just like the blacksmith's bellows, the leather bags with a little pointed instrument coming out. You just step on the handles and the bags squeeze together and push out some hot air to keep the coals burning when you're using an anvil or making some horseshoes or something. The blacksmith, the ironsmith. So its body is a big airbag, 60-kilo airbag. Inhalation and exhalation, but no production, only air, hot air coming out. Not even hot air, sometimes bad air, stinky air. And not even making any fire, just polluting the air with our carbon dioxide, taking in oxygen and giving out carbon dioxide. We're not even burning coals and making horseshoes. At least the blacksmith's bellows produces some useful product like horseshoes. Our breathing doesn't produce anything but carbon dioxide. So there's no use. Prema shunya sharir tuyat kiba kaj. Chintya padila prabhu janavi maj. I want to merge in the janavi, means drown myself. Maja means merge. So Mahaprabhu's running with the speed of wind to jump in the janavi. Janava. The Ganga, and Haridas and Nityananda are running behind him. So it's Chaitanya Bhagavat, and this is chapter 16. We've been hearing about the story of Shuklambara Brahmachari and how much Lord Chaitanya appreciates his association. And Shuklambara apparently is the incarnation of, or he's the Gaur Lila form of Sudama Das, Sudama Brahman from Dwarka, Krishna Lila. And Lord Chaitanya came to meet Shuklambara in his house, and he forcibly took some old rice that Shuklambara had begged, because he was living by begging. He was a very impoverished person, but a great devotee. And to show how much appreciation and love Lord Chaitanya had for him, he personally took the rice from his hand. This text 141. And Navnas Thakur is explaining. Mudra Sahita Naivedyara Jatavidi Veda Rupe Apane Balena Guna Nidhi. Lord Vishnubar, who is a reservoir of transcendental qualities, personally explained the Vedas, through the Vedas, the rules for offering food. Interesting that Shuklambara, of course, he wasn't really offering any food to Lord Chaitanya, but Lord Chaitanya was just taking some baked food that he offered. Somehow, now he goes on. Bine se vidi kichu svikara nakare sakala pratikya chorna bhaktir durjari. Vishnubar does not accept anything unless it's offered according to those rules, but he breaks all those injunctions for the sake of his devotees. Shuklambara tandula tahara paraman hateva sakala vidira bhakti pran. Lord Vishnubar's accepting Shuklambara's rice is proof of this fact. Therefore, devotion is the life of all rules. Sakala Vidi Bhakti Pran. That's interesting. Sakala Vidi Bhakti Pran. That's why Rupa Goswami says in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that the Mukhya Vidi is to always remember Krishna and never forget him. So always remembering Krishna, this only someone who's in love with someone can always remember their beloved. Because you can only remember something you're attached to, or someone you're attached to. If you're not attached to someone, you usually forget them. If you're very much attached to someone, your wife or husband, whatever, and you're thinking about them without even any effort, doesn't require any extraneous effort or extra effort to remember someone you're very attached to. Their memory automatically rises in your mind. And the feelings of that memory generates spontaneous feelings in the heart also. So this is the main Sakala Vidi Bhakti Pran. He says that devotion is the life of all rules. So if we're always remembering Krishna, never forgetting him, by always remembering Krishna, then all the other rules come in place. All the other so many rules and regulations are there, and they're all the different ways of expressing our remembrance of Krishna. Like the four regular principles. So we're remembering Krishna. Well, Krishna is Gopal, Govinda. He takes care of cows. He's a protector of cows. So how can I eat Krishna's cows? So I have to be a vegetarian. Oh, there's so many ways. So this is the primary thing. So this is devotion. Smaranam is a limb of devotion. Krishna Smaranam is bhakti. To remember Krishna is bhakti, but that type of smaranam doesn't really come. We can't really remember Krishna spontaneously till we come to the level of rati, asakti. Asakti means attachment. At the level of nishta, we remember Krishna sometimes, but not that often. At the level of asakti bhava. Bhava, we remember Krishna with feelings of love. That's bhava. We're attached to Krishna with feelings of love, but asakti means we're attached to Krishna, the person, and nishta means we're attached to the rules, or attached to the practices and sadhana that brings us to Krishna, that brings us to attachment to Krishna. Nishta goes to asakti. Nishta goes to ruchi, ruchi goes to asakti. So ruchi means that we're attached to the rules and regulations of sadhana, and because we're getting some taste from those things. And then asakti means we're actually attached to the object of our sadhana, we're attached to Krishna. Aruchi becomes ruchi for Krishna, actual taste for Krishna, not taste for the limbs of devotion, but taste for devotion itself. Taste for chanting about Krishna or hearing about Krishna becomes taste for Krishna. Trishna for Krishna. Trishna means taste. So this is the interesting thing he's saying here. Sakala Vidi Bhakti Pran. He says that devotion is the life of all rules. And you can sustain, like labor of love, they say, the burden of carrying a baby in the womb of a mother. That's a heavy burden to carry. That's called the labor of love, burden of love. She doesn't mind carrying the weight and difficulty of pregnancy because of her love for the child, even before he's born. So this is it. Lord Chaitanya, he loved Shuklambara. So this is the ultimate rule, is that he loved this devotee, and whatever the devotee has, he accepted, even some old dried inferior quality rice that was begged, not even cooked. He immediately took it from Shuklambara and partook of it, ate it. Jatavidi Nisheda Sakali Bhakti Das Ihateja Haraduka Se Jayanash. All rules and regulations are servants of devotional service. One who is distressed because of this is vanquished. Vedavyasa has stated that devotion is the root of all rules, and Granga has directly demonstrated this in this pastime. Smarta Vyasatatam Vishnur Sarva Vidi Nishedasur Vismata Vayo Jatuchit Etiyor Evakin Kara. Krishna is the origin of Lord Vishnu. He should always be remembered and never forgotten at any time. All rules and prohibitions mentioned in the Shastra should be the servants of these two principles. So this is a nice point. I guess this is one of the main points of this pastime, about the offering, this offering of rice. Aside from hearing all the actual qualities and characteristics of Shuklamara Brahmachari, but the main teaching of this chapter seems to be this interaction, this pastime, Lila, that he had with Lord Chaitanya, taking his rice, and the points, the philosophical points that we have to learn from that. Mudrana ekari vipranadila apane tarapi tandula prabhu khaila jatane. The Brahmana Shuklambara did not offer the rice with mudras, nor did he even offer it. Yet nevertheless the Lord eagerly ate it. Vishaya mandhanda sava marmana jane sutadana kulamade vaishnava nachine. Persons who are blinded by the pride of material enjoyment cannot understand this mystery. Intoxicated by their children, wealth and family prestige, they cannot recognize a Vaishnava. As no one recognized Shuklambara. They thought he was some beggar. He was such a great Vaishnava that the Lord came to his house and forcibly took some rice from his hand and ate the offering, which wasn't even offered and wasn't even offerable. By Archan Marg standards, the rice was not, it's supposed to be first-class rice you offer to the deities. Wasn't even offerable. Wasn't even cooked. Usually rice has to be cooked before it's offered to the Lord. So although other so-called devotees in Navadvip, they were making offerings to their shalagram or offerings to their murtis very properly, here we see the Lord is going to the house of his devotee directly, sakshat darshan, and taking directly the offering. Deki Morka Daridra Jai Vaishnavere Hase Tara Puja Vitta Kabu Krishnere Navhase. Krishna never accepts the offerings and worship of one who ridicules a Vaishnava, considering him poor or foolish. So Vrindavan Das Thakur is saying that there are so many people, Vaishnavas, living there nearby and around Shuklambara, but they were ridiculing him for being a poor beggar. And they're making offerings, but here Vrindavan Das Thakur is saying they don't even, Krishna is not even accepting their offerings. So this devotion, of course, that the Lord is interested in.